evening, everyone, and welcome. So call the meeting to order. It's now 6 p.m. and we'll call the public hearing to order on Tuesday, June the 2nd, 2026. We will begin with roll call, and all councilors are in attendance with the exception of Councilor Hiltz, who has given notice and is unavailable for medical reasons. So I would ask that we have, I guess at this meeting we do not need a motion to excuse him. We will maybe at the next, at the council meeting. I note that the Municipal Council Act deems that council members not in attendance at the public hearing are ineligible to vote on the issue at the related upcoming council meeting. In a public hearing, the council's role is to hear the staff presentation as well as comments from the public on the file and information presented. There will be no debate. However, any member of council may ask questions of clarification of either staff or of the public. So our first item, our only item of business this evening is an application for a development agreement to convert an existing building into one unit dwelling at 1138 West Halls Harbour Road in Halls Harbour. Alice Jacob, our planner, will be presenting. So, Ms. Jacob, I will turn the floor over to you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Good evening, everyone. We are here to discuss a planning application for a development agreement to convert an existing building into a one-unit dwelling at 1138 West Halls Harbour Road, Halls Harbour. County of Kings map. The red circle on the map is the approximate location of the property within the county. This is a subject property. The property has an area of 4,129 square feet. As we can see here, the majority of the property's boundary is along West Halls Harbour Road, providing about 200 feet frontage on the road. It is within proximity to the Bay of Fundy, and the property is developed with a building. The building is not entirely contained within the property boundaries. It encroaches onto the provincial road right-of-way, and the road is within the jurisdiction of Nova Scotia Department of Public Works. The department has acknowledged the encroachment through a letter of comfort and has not raised any concerns about the encroachment or the proposed change in use. With regards to surrounding uses, the surrounding uses include commercial and residential uses and also includes vacant properties. And this is a subject property. As I said, the property is developed with a building. The previous known uses of the building are as a post office, fishing and hunting supplies, and also for storage purposes. There is currently no use within the building, and the proposal is to convert the building into a one-unit dwelling. A development agreement is required to enable the proposed use. Because the property is located within the zone called the Tidal Shoreline T1 zone. One-unit dwellings are a permitted use within the T1 zone, but the existing building on the property does not meet all the requirements of the zone for a one-unit dwelling. As most of the property borders the West Halls Harbour Road, most of the building is subject to front setback requirements of the T1 zone. The T1 zone requires a minimum front setback of 20 feet for a one-unit dwelling. As the building is not entirely contained within the property and as it encroaches onto the road, it does not meet the front setback requirements of the zone. And with regards to area, the T1 zone requires a minimum lot area of 30,000 square feet for a one-unit dwelling for lots that are serviced by on-site sewer. The subject property is only 4,129 square feet, not meeting the area requirement of the zone. And because of these reasons, it cannot be permitted as of right. However, the land use bylaw permits certain relaxations to the property and to the building because the property is considered an existing undersized lot and the building is a non-conforming structure. So according to the land use bylaw, any lot in existence prior to May 5, 1992, or any lot that received municipal subdivision approval between May 5, 1992, and the date of adoption of the current land use bylaw, which does not meet the minimum area or frontage requirement, or both, is considered an existing undersized lot. In this case, the subject property does not meet the T1 zone's minimum lot area requirement, but the lot was created before May 5, 1992, and therefore it is considered an existing undersized lot. The LUB provides certain relaxations for development on existing undersized lots. These lots are permitted to be developed with the uses permitted in the zone, provided all the other provisions of the land use bylaw are met. In this case, one-unit dwellings are permitted in the T1 zone, but the existing building on the property does not meet all the other applicable provisions of the bylaw, such as setbacks, which makes the relaxation inapplicable. The structure on the property is a non-conforming structure. So a non-conforming structure is a structure lawfully in existence on the date of adoption of the current land use bylaw, which does not meet the requirements of the zone in which it is located. The structure on the property does not meet the requirements of the T1 zone, but it has existed lawfully on the property for many years, and it is therefore considered a non-conforming structure. Similar to existing undersized lots, the LUB permits certain relaxations for non-conforming structures. However, none of the relaxations could be applied to permit the proposed one-unit dwelling as of right. So to summarize the whole thing, the reason we require a development agreement is because the building does not meet the requirements of the T1 zone for a one-unit dwelling, and the property is an existing undersized lot, and the building is a non-conforming structure. The LUB permits certain relaxations for existing undersized lots and non-conforming structures, but none of those relaxations could be applied to permit the proposed use as of right on the property. And some photographs of the subject property and neighboring properties. This is the view of the subject property with the existing building, and a view of the adjacent property, which is developed with a residential dwelling. And the commercial use to the north of the subject property, the Halls Harbour Lobster Pound, which includes a restaurant, retail store, lobster storage, packaging, and export business, some of which are permitted through a development agreement. And the neighboring property to the northwest, which is developed with tourist accommodations, permitted through a development agreement, and also includes a one-unit dwelling. And a view of Bay of Fundy from the subject property. So we had a public information meeting for this application last year in September. There were a few concerns and comments. The public mentioned about a past fire and smoke issue on the neighboring property, which was caused by the previous property owners. This issue was mentioned while we processed a development agreement for that property in 2024, and the Halls Harbour Fire Department was consulted, and they did not raise any concerns. The main concern that we received at the meeting was about the growing number of tourist accommodations compared to permanent residents, and the impact it has on the community and the community character and quality of life. There were questions about how the development would be serviced, how the one-unit dwelling would be serviced, whether it would be central sewer and water, or whether it would be on-site services. The public mentioned about the septic system on the property. They mentioned that the septic system on the property is really old, and they were concerned about the adequacy of the septic system. There were questions about the position of the driveway. So the municipality, we do not have any specific regulations governing the placement of a residential driveway on a provincial road. The access to the property is controlled by Nova Scotia Department of Public Works, and the applicant will be required to obtain the necessary access permit at the time of permitting. There were questions about why the development agreement was required, and whether the municipality is comfortable with the existing setbacks of the building. There was also a discussion about the historic significance of the building, and also questions about whether there are any preservation requirements. So the building is not classified as a heritage building, so there are no specific requirements with regards to that. However, the applicant has mentioned the intent to maintain the exterior of the building as it is without a lot of changes to it. And there were also questions about whether the lot was part of the neighboring property. Moving on to policy review. Policy 3.5.18 is what enables this application, this proposal. It enables council to consider by development agreement proposals for one-unit dwellings on lots where the dwelling cannot meet the required lot standards. Council has to be satisfied that the proposal meets a few policy criteria. So criteria A, whether the dwelling maximizes the setback from the marine coast. So the property is in the T1 zone, and properties in the T1 zone with shoreline frontage are required to maintain a 75 feet setback from marine shoreline. The subject property does not have a shoreline frontage, but the building on the property is set back approximately 90 feet from the shoreline, which exceeds the 75 feet setback requirement of the zone, which is applied to lots with water frontage. As it exceeds this requirement, and as the building already exists on the property, staff are of the opinion that no additional setback is required. Criteria B does not apply to the subject property, as it applies only to waterfront lots. And criteria C is whether the proposal meets the general development agreement criteria, which is this on the screen. So we looked into various aspects, such as the proposal's consistency with the municipal planning strategy, the compatibility with surrounding uses, financial impacts, adequacy of fire protection services, sewer and water services, drainage impacts, flooding impacts, and other negative impacts. The proposal was found to be consistent with this policy, and there were no concerns. A summary of the development agreement. The development agreement enables a one-unit dwelling within the existing building on the subject property. And in case the building is destroyed destroyed in the future, it enables the replacement of the dwelling. The building would be required to be rebuilt within the property boundaries. In terms of the process, we received this application in July last year. We had a public information meeting in September, and staff reviewed the application and prepared a report, which was reviewed by PAC on the 14th of April, 2026. The application went to council for initial consideration on the 5th of May, and we are currently at the public hearing. Following the public hearing, the application will go back to council for a final consideration, following which there will be a 14-day appeal period. That concludes my presentation. I pass it back to the chair for questions and comments.
Thank you, Ms. Jacob. So, once again, to the public, council sits as a quasi-judicial capacity for public hearings, and so it doesn't engage in debate and doesn't argue with the presenter. It is necessary, however, that everyone has a good sense of what's being presented. So we will go to questions of clarification. So at this time, is there any misunderstandings or on any part of any counselor, and do you have any questions? Counselor Gates.
Thank you, through you, Mr. Mayor. Laura, I'm just wondering, Ms. Jacobs, the road frontage that this property would have. Do you know? I didn't see that in the presentation. The road frontage, I've taken, would be north.
So the property has road frontages on all these sides. Like, it has about 200 feet frontage.
Perfect. Thank you.
Okay, anyone else? I don't see anyone else from council, so now I will move to comments from the public. And at this time, I would ask that for you to do so in a respectful manner, and anything otherwise will not be tolerated. So are there any members of the public that wish to address council on this matter? Please come to the mic and state your name and address for the record. As a reminder, there is a 5-minute maximum time per speaker. Please address comments to council and not to the presenter. Do you wish to come to the mic, sir? Right up here.
My name is Paul Mitchell Taylor, not Paul Richard Taylor, and I came today as a result of a letter that I received, but I only have one question for the council, and I may have missed it because it may have been presented by the presenter and I just missed it. So if I did, I apologize. But how long did the presenter today, who's just finished, have to prepare a presentation for the council? Like that's quite a nice demonstration. I just wanted to know how long they had to prepare. And did you mention when you started? You talked about meetings and things. I just does someone know?
I don't know whether it took her hours or days.
How long have you known that you were coming here today to present?
I'm sorry, your question.
Oh, sorry. That's
come to council and
just for clarification. I just
yeah.
wanted to know approximately what time they had to prepare.
Well, I'm afraid we don't
Can't
have
answer?
an answer
Okay.
for that, Mr. Taylor.
Thank you very much,
I
Councilor.
presume she did quite a thorough presentation, so it was probably took her quite a while. But thanks for the question.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Okay, no one else? All right. So, at this time then, if there's no other matters to come before the public hearing, I declare the public hearing adjourned, and I note for the public's information that this item is on the agenda of the council meeting directly, following this hearing for a final consideration, and you're certainly all welcome to stay. So at this time, I'll call for a roll call and do the land acknowledgement for Municipal Council dated Tuesday, June 2nd, 2026. I would declare that all council members are present with the exception of Councillor Robbie Hiltz, who is unable to attend due to illness. And so I would ask that we have a motion to have Councillor Hiltz excused for his absence due to illness. Moved by Councillor Gates, second by Deputy Mayor McPherson. All those in favor or against, please vote accordingly. Okay, motion carried. Again, I would like to welcome everyone to our council meeting, and I will now read our land acknowledgement. The municipality of the County of Kings is in Mi'kma'ki, the ancestral, unceded, and current territory of the Mi'kmaq people. The municipality of the County of Kings is a neighbor to Annapolis Valley First Nation and Glooscap First Nation, as well as a diverse urban and rural indigenous population. We are all treaty people and commit to upholding the peace and friendship treaties and working towards reconciliation in all areas of the municipality. You do have an agenda in front of you, Council. Is there any additions anyone would like to make to the agenda? No? Can I get a mover and a seconder for the agenda, please? Moved by Councillor Harding, second by Councillor Lutz. Any further discussion? Okay, all those in favor or against, please vote accordingly. Motion carried. At this time, I would ask, are there any councillors who wish to declare a conflict of interest related to any of the agenda items this evening? No? Okay, we shall move on then to approval of the minutes of May 5th, 2026. Is there any errors or omissions in the May the 5th minutes, please? Okay, can I get a mover and a seconder of those minutes? Moved by Councillor Gates, second by Deputy Mayor McPherson. All those in favor or against, please vote accordingly. Motion carried. We had a special council meeting on May the 19th, 2026. Did anyone see any errors or omissions in that meeting? Minutes. Okay, can I get a motion to approve the May 19th minutes, please? Moved by Councillor Sappington, second by Councillor Allen. All those in favor or against, please vote accordingly. Motion carried. Business arising for the minutes of May the 5th, 2026. Is there any business arising from those minutes? No? Okay, we'll move on to May 19th, 2026 special council meeting. Is there any business arising from the minutes of May 19th? Okay, thank you. We'll move on to Planning Committee recommendations. Item number 6A, application for Bell Mobility Telecommunications Tower in Canaan. And one of our planners, Melissa Chunick, will be presenting. And Ms. Chunick.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and good evening, councillors. My name is Melissa, and I will be presenting a planning application which revolves a request from CanAcre Limited on behalf of Bell Mobility to construct a telecommunications tower on a leased portion of 211 Topline Boulevard in Canaan. The proposal is for a telecommunications tower, which goes through a simultaneous process conducted by staff using the municipal antenna systems process in the municipal planning strategy, and by the applicant using Innovation, Science, and Economic Development, or ISED Canada, Federal Policy CPC-2-0-03 for radio communication and broadcasting antenna systems. This is a map of the entire municipality, and the red arrow and circle indicate the approximate location of the subject site just outside the boundary for New Minas and south of Highway 101. The review for this type of application differs from our usual development agreements or rezoning applications. In the case for the jurisdiction of this review, it's the federal government that has the final say in approving tower installations. Approval requires evidence that the site will meet health and safety standards per their policies. There are an assortment of federal approval steps, but the municipality's role falls within the consultation process. So it's the municipality's role to engage in the local public consultation process so that concerns and questions from the public can be addressed. The municipal policies that direct this process are found within the municipal planning strategy. These planning policies direct council to ensure that the proposal will not impact the surrounding area. In addition, telecommunication towers that require federal approval, such as this application, they are not regulated through the land use bylaw. This is the process for this type of application. Staff must first receive a complete application. And as for the municipality's consultation process, the municipal planning strategy outlines the process through their policies. These policies require a public information meeting, and so this was held on March 24th here in council chambers. Staff then moved on to the staff review portion, which included writing a report for the Planning Advisory Committee. Before we could move to that meeting, the federal process requires a 30-day consultation period, and so this began on March 6th before the public information meeting and ended on April 10th following the public information meeting. And so this gave kind of the public a deadline to respond and for the applicant or staff to respond to the public. Following this, the MPS policies also require that the applicant provide staff with a detailed summary of the consultation process. So once we received this, we were able to move on to the Planning Advisory Committee meeting. So staff presented the report to the committee in May, and they provided a positive recommendation, and so that brings us to tonight's meeting. There is no public hearing component or first reading of this process, and so tonight's meeting is where council can provide support or non-support. Regardless of council's decision, final approval is up to the federal authority. So during the public information meeting, there was 5 members of the public in attendance, along with representatives from Bell Mobility and Canaan. The municipal planning strategy outlines deadlines for notifications and advertisements for a public meeting for a telecommunications tower application. And so in conjunction with the applicant, notification letters were sent to property owners within 1,000 feet of the subject property. In addition, the MPS policies required a notice to be printed in the newspaper ad at least 2 weeks before the meeting and a sign to be posted on the property. And so both the applicant and staff printed an ad in the Valley Journal Advertiser on March 6th, which was more than 2 weeks before the meeting, and the applicant posted a sign on the property more than 2 weeks before the meeting as well. The questions received from the public at the meeting revolved around whether the tower would be illuminated, when construction would start, if the tower would result in raise, what the benefits would be, and if there would be any impacts on housing prices, along with other technical questions that Bell fielded. Each question and a summarized response can be found in Appendix C of the Planning Advisory Committee report. So in order for the municipality to review a telecommunications tower, the applicant needs to prove that co-location options were investigated. The applicants provided confirmation that they investigated a variety of options to see if co-location for their tower would be an option, but they were unable to find any other existing structures or towers or other properties that would be suitable for their equipment, and so the subject property for this application has been proposed as the most suitable. The other requirement for siting is that the structure cannot be less than 3 times the height of the tower from any homes, schools, or hospitals. And so this tower is proposed to be a self-supported bell tower that would be enclosed in a chain link fence compound within the subject property. The elevation of the site where the tower is proposed is 139 meters at grade, but the tower itself will have a height of 40 meters. This means that a setback radius of 120 meters is required. And so the applicant has confirmed that the structure will be 160 meters away from the nearest dwelling and over 260 meters away from the nearest public road. It also succeeds that minimum requirement of separation between hospitals and schools. There are other structures on the subject property, but as they do not fall within the category of a hospital, school, or home, they are not subject to those requirements. In addition, the applicants have made efforts to minimize the visibility of the tower to the surrounding area. So this is just an aerial image showing the distance between the proposed tower location from the nearest dwelling. The nearest dwelling is on an adjacent property, but it's under the same ownership as the subject property, which is Topline Ventures. This is the zoning map for the general area. The subject property is within the rural industrial M3 zone. The properties directly surrounding the site are within the rural mixed use A2 zone, and there's a mix of residential uses along with businesses. The majority of development in the surrounding area is situated closer to New Canaan Road, whereas the uses on the subject property and the proposed tower are situated further back. The current rural industrial M3 zoning of this property is not proposed to change through this process, and the existing uses on the site will not be changing or halting as well. The proposed tower is just an additional use on the property. The entire subject property is around 14.5 acres in area with 40 feet of road frontage, and the area that would be leased by Bell for the tower is around 6,700 square feet. There are two existing accesses into this property. The first is Topline Boulevard, which is a private access that goes through the adjacent property under the same ownership. And then the subject site has around 40 feet of road frontage off New Canaan Road. And this is what Bell would use as an access easement to access the tower. So the next few slides are from a site visit that staff conducted with the property owner in February. The photo on the left is looking at the access into the subject property from New Canaan Road, and so this is what Bell would use as their access easement. The photo on the right is the beginning of Topline Boulevard looking from New Canaan Road as well. So these photos are looking at Topline Boulevard, which runs through kind of towards the center of the property. The image on the right shows one of the buildings at the clearing of the property, so that's for one of the existing uses, and this building's around 340 meters from New Canaan Road. The tower site is proposed to be to the left of this, and as mentioned, around 260 meters from New Canaan Road. And so this is the proposed tower site. As mentioned, it will be within a chain link fence compound, and there is a bit of an existing treed buffer. The existing uses on the property are behind where this photo was taken, and Bell would access to the left. And so the recommendation is as follows: that Municipal Council supports this application by Canaan Limited, Bell Mobility, to site a 40-meter telecommunications tower on a leased portion of 211 Topline Boulevard, PID 55180-772 Canaan, as described in Appendix D of the report dated May 12, 2026. Thank you. That concludes my presentation. I'll pass it back to you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Melissa, do we have a mover of the recommendation? Moved by Councillor Best, second by Councillor Sappington. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor or against, please vote accordingly. Okay, Councillor Allen voted in favor, Madam Clerk. Motion carried. Okay, next item on the agenda is item 6B, application to amend the text of land use bylaw to permit second dwellings in the historic hamlet of Grand Prairie A5 zone. So before we go to the recommendation, I'll turn it over to Director Javrick for clarification on the process. Director Javrick.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just wanted to maybe speak to council just to clarify that in terms of our regular process for planning amendments, the motion before you is reflecting both staff and PAC's recommendation that council send this or give this first reading and send it to a public hearing, schedule a public hearing. And in terms of our regular process, that would mean that the public hearing would be at our next regular scheduled council meeting, which would be July 7th. That would give council an additional month to think on the topic, if that is helpful to you. In terms of the public hearing presentation, staff at that time would be doing a presentation that would do the policy review of why both staff and Planning Advisory Committee believe that there is policy support for the amendments. As part of that presentation, staff would also look to meet the requirements of council's April motion, where you were seeking additional information on specifically heritage. So the presentation will also cover UNESCO, the Heritage Act, the heritage regulations, the municipalities' policies, bylaws, and regulations that would come into play with those amendments. So again, just wanted to maybe reiterate that given first reading to some amendments is by no means indicating council's full intentions. It's just sending it to public hearings so that we may hear from both staff and the public. Yeah, and then later on that night, on July 7th, council would then discuss and debate and ultimately vote on those amendments. With that, I will hand it back to you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Director Javik. And now I'll call on Councillor Lutz. If you could read the recommendation, please.
Okay, the motion, I'm just reading this as Chair of PAC, that Municipal Council give first reading to and hold a public hearing related to the amendments to the text of the land use bylaw to permit the development of second dwellings in the historic hamlet of Grand Pre, A5 zone, as described in the report dated May 12th, 2026.
Okay, thank you. Do we have a mover and a seconder? Moved by Councillor Harding and second by Councillor Sappington. Any further discussion? Councillor Gates.
Thank you, through you, Mr. Mayor. During PAC, I wrestled with this as well, and even in the application, it refers to second dwellings in the historic hamlet of Grand Pre. And at that time, I voted against it, and for this meeting, I will still vote against it. I will not be supporting it for this meeting. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Councillor Lutz.
Thank you, Mayor. I will not be supporting this motion. I was not at the PAC meeting at which this was discussed and would have voted against it at the Planning Advisory Committee as well. I made the initial exemption for this zone from the initial drive to permit secondary dwellings in a number of different areas of the county. And I think it is appropriate in most of our zones, but I don't think it's appropriate in this historic hamlet of Grand Pre to add secondary dwellings. I recognize that folks might think there's a misunderstanding of this direction, or that it's not having the effects that's intended. I sat on the Landscape of Grand Pre board for 8 years, and during that time developed a very close relationship with the Landscape of Grand Pre, which I do believe includes many of the homes and the uplands of there, in culture and in spirit, if not in policy. I don't feel we should be discussing this without understanding our commitment to preservation, and I don't think this council has a full grasp. I don't have a full grasp of the municipality's responsibilities when it comes to preservation and heritage, and I think we absolutely need to have that presentation prior to voting on anything. Also, I don't believe we need a public hearing, as we're pretty clear on how the public feels at this point in the process already. So I will definitely not be supporting it. I would really still like to have a presentation because I believe there might be other things that we're missing in Grand Pré that are at risk due to that lack of information that we have. Thank you.
Thank you. Deputy Mayor McPherson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you, I was at PAC, and in fact, I supported this coming to this stage. And the reason for that is I find this a very complex decision. And it's complex because of the numerous overlaying protections that involve Grand Pré. And I wanted to collect as much information as possible to be informed. I think the big thing that was missing for me is I had conversations with a couple of the residents of Grand Pré and clearly understood their perspectives, but I wanted to hear from more, and that's why I wanted to move it to a public hearing. I think in the past few days, I think that desire of mine has been satisfied. I think it's been made very clear to me how the residents of Grand Pré feel. Also, at some point in the history of municipal council, there was a decision to make Grand Pré zoned A5, and that's a special zoning. And that was done for a purpose because of the specialness of Grand Pré. So municipal council at some point already made that determination. Therefore, as well, I will not be supporting the motion this evening. Thank you.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor, and Councillor Allen.
Thank you, Mayor. I was rather for this motion because I think it's a very in-depth topic that council should have a discussion and vote on it. And we can see the large turnout here tonight, and they will not have an opportunity to speak unless it goes to the second reading. Is that my understanding?
Correct.
Yes. So if they would like to express their opinion, we must go to the second reading. So I will be supporting this for that reason.
Although I have to correct myself, Councillor Allen, they would have 2 minutes at the end of this in public comments to make comments either way, but that may be after the fact.
Oh, okay, but if they're given an opportunity to speak
A public
this evening,
hearing, that gives
won't
them more
support this.
opportunity. That's correct.
Yes, okay, yeah. But if they have the opportunity, I will not support this evening. Okay, thank you.
Okay. All right. We have a recommendation in front of you, and maybe, and it's been moved and seconded. So, unless there's any further discussion. Pardon me? Questions being called? So, all those in favor or against, please vote accordingly. Motion defeated. Okay, we'll move on to item 6C, application for development agreement in Halls Harbour. Councillor Lutz, please.
Thank you, Mayor. The motion reads that Municipal Council give final consideration regarding entering into a development agreement to convert an existing building into a one-unit dwelling at 1138 West Halls Harbour Road, PID 55041073, Halls Harbour, which is substantively the same, save for minor differences in form, as the draft set out in Appendix D of the report dated April 14th, 2026. I so move.
Okay, we have a seconder. Second by Councillor Allen. Any further discussion? Okay, all those in favor or against, please vote accordingly. Motion carried. Okay, move on to next item is our next public hearing. Councillor Lutz.
Thank you, Mayor. The next public hearing will be Tuesday, July 7th, 2026 at 6 p.m. here in these chambers.
Great. Thank you very much. We'll move on to number 7, planning services. An application to discharge an existing development agreement on 9693 and 9701 Highway 1 in New Minas, and Melissa Chunick, our planner, will be presenting again. Melissa.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. As mentioned, this presentation is regarding a request from Christopher Jagd on behalf of Get Real Properties to remove 2 properties from an existing development agreement at 9693 and 9701 Commercial Street in New Minas. So for the origin of this request, this is the first introduction of this application to Municipal Council. And so the intent of this request for decision is for Municipal Council to consider the application concerning the development agreement discharge and make a decision to discharge the agreement. The proposal is to discharge an existing development agreement that was registered in 2007 to 2 properties. The 2 properties are enclosed with this red outline here. The smaller of the 2 is actually surrounded by the larger property. And so this outline does show both of the properties. And so recent amendments to the municipal planning documents resulted in an expansion to the New Minas Growth Center. The boundary was expanded to include these 2 properties. The discharge of this agreement from the 2 subject sites would allow for the uses that are permitted in the underlying mixed commercial residential C3 zone. As with the recent amendments, the site were rezoned from their previous zoning. The applicants are looking to be able to utilize this new zoning in the as-of-right uses and regulations without the constraints of the existing development agreement. So this is a map of the entire municipality, which shows the approximate location of the subject sites within New Minas. The subject properties were purchased by the current owners, Get Real Properties, in 2023. The existing agreement was registered in 2007 with the previous owners and under previous planning documents. The agreement allowed for a mixed development containing commercial, light industrial, community facility, and multi-unit residential land uses. While the agreement permits a variety of uses, those uses are constrained to the regulations of the agreement and how they're outlined within the associated site plan. The agreement covers multiple sites, and part of the terms of the development agreement have already been built out through an apartment building at 9691 Commercial Street and semi-detached dwellings on Fairbanks Avenue. These properties are not involved in this discharge application, and so they'd continue to be subject to the development agreement. The applicants are seeking the discharge to remove the constraints associated with this existing agreement. So this is the zoning map showing the general area. The underlying zone, as mentioned, is mixed commercial residential C3. The properties to the left and right of the subject sites are the properties that are also within the existing agreement, but they are not subject to this application. The surrounding area consists of a variety of uses. So to the east and west are residential uses of varying densities. To the north are industrial lands, and to the south are low-density residential uses, along with a commercial auto repair shop. The 2 subject properties are the site of the former Horton District High School, which closed in 1998 and was demolished in 2017. A former bus garage remains on the site and was repurposed for the Edible Art Cafe, which operated for 11 years before closing operation in 2023. The building on the site has since been used for an office and an appliance shop, and the rest of the land has been vacant. Civic 963 has an area of 5.65 acres and a frontage of 376 feet, and it surrounds Civic 9701, which has an area of 0.9 acres and a frontage of 100 feet. So this is a designation map showing the general area. The properties are within a split designation between the agricultural designation and residential designations. These are not impacted by this application. As for the policy review, the Municipal Government Act states that a development agreement is in effect until discharged by the Chief Administrative Officer in accordance with the terms of the agreement or in concurrence with the property owner. However, for this application, while the current property owner is making the request, they were not the owners at the time the original agreement was registered. And so for this request for discharge, it must be reviewed by council as per policy 234 of the Municipal Government Act. Additionally, section 5.3.6C of the Municipal Planning Strategy recognizes that Council will include discharge policies within the development agreement, and this states that the agreement shall be binding upon the parties hereto, their heirs, successors, assigns, mortgagees, lessees, and all subsequent owners, and shall run with the property until this agreement is discharged by Council. And so should Council discharge the agreement, the permissions and requirements of the underlying mixed commercial C3 zone would apply. This is the process for a development agreement discharge. Under the Municipality of the County of Kings planning policies and the Municipal Government Act, no public information meeting or public hearing is required for the discharge of a development agreement. Council holds final consideration only, and the decision is not appealable. There is no requirements for neighbor notifications, and so Council received a complete application in April and then proceeded to a staff review, which brings us to tonight's meeting, and this is where Council can either approve or deny the application. As part of a request for a decision to Council, alternatives must be provided to the intent of the request, which is to discharge the agreement. In this case, the alternatives would be that Municipal Council may refuse to discharge the agreement or provide alternative direction, such as requesting further information on a specific topic. So the recommendation is as follows: that Municipal Council approve the discharge of the development agreement registered May 7, 2007 between MIR1 Developments Inc. and the Municipality of the County of Kings for PID 5543432899693 Commercial Street, New Minas, and PID 555-00961-9701 Commercial Street, New Minas, as described in Appendix A of the report dated June 2nd, 2026. And that concludes my presentation. I'll pass it back to you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you, Melissa. Do I have a mover and a seconder? Moved by Councillor Lutz, second by Councillor Best. Any further discussion? Councillor Lutz.
I just have a quick question, if that's okay, Mayor.
Sure.
Through you, how long between application and it making it to Council does a discharge normally take? Like, it doesn't note when they applied. I'm just curious when this was applied for versus like how long does it take to get to Council?
Yeah, so through you, Mr. Mayor, to Councillor, this was applied for in April, and so because there isn't any public information meeting or any other meetings in between, and there's no notification periods, we ultimately worked on the staff review and wrote the report and presentation, and then based on when we could bring it to a kind of respectful agenda date.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay. So, we have a recommendation in front of you, been moved and seconded. All those in favor or against, please vote accordingly. Motion carried. Thank you again, Melissa. Now we'll move on to item 8, inspections and enforcement services. Dangerous and unsightly demolition meeting and order 491 Aldershot Road, North Kentville. And our bylaw inspection and enforcement officer, Mr. Terry Brown, will be presenting. Mr. Brown.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of council. This evening I'm here to provide a brief presentation regarding a dangerous and unsightly property. The property is located at 491 Aldershot Road, Kings County, Nova Scotia, with the PIDs being 5549, 2326, 5505, 8283, and 5549, 2334. Dangerous unsightly file being 250506. Excuse me. There we go. I apologize. This slide identifies the property in question, 491 Aldershot Road. The blue star identifies the property, as well as the, you can see the street, Aldershot Road, which runs north-south. It's a landlocked piece of property, and again, known as 491 Aldershot Road. As I begin, I will take you through a series of photos. The primary photos were taken on August 20th of 2025. The south view of the residence, this is a south view of the residence. As you can see from the photo, the structure is severely dilapidated and its structural integrity is certainly jeopardized. An east side of the residence, again, a photo identifying severely dilapidated structure, open to the elements, not secure. And this, again, is another photo of the east side of the structure. Unsightly debris that surrounds it. As you can tell, that the chimney is deteriorating rapidly. And again, the roof structure is failing. This is the west side of the residence, so the front facing Aldershot Road. You can see the overgrowth that's identified surrounding the property. This also would become considered dangerous in the drier months in relation to a potential fire hazard. You can also see that the roof structure is kind of saddled there, which identifies that the rafters would be certainly weakening. In this picture here is the north side of the residence, identifying what we feel is a crawl space. You can tell that there's obviously debris there, but also any level of foundation is structurally failing. This is a view of the inside of the residence. Debris, multiple items that have been stored there, which is considered garbage, for the lack of a better term. A more recent photo, which would have been taken a number of days ago. As you can tell from this photo, nothing has changed since, at the very least, August of 2025. Actually, it looks even worse, deteriorated more. The roof is sagging more and deteriorated. The structural integrity, obviously, it's certainly in question. There's also a dilapidated outbuilding located on this same property. Again, the roof structure of this, or the roof of this structure, deteriorating. It's open to the elements. It as well is full with debris and items of garbage. And another, sorry. Another picture identifying the dilapidated outbuilding. And most presentations, I always like to take photos of the neighboring properties, identifying that the property in question is not in keeping with the neighborhood. So as you can tell, this property here is located just in front of the property in question, 491. It identifies that it's well maintained and well kept. Within a few hundred yards, there is also the Aldershot School, the Aldershot Elementary School. Under the definition of dangerous or unsightly, an allurement to children is defined as something that we consider as a whole when we are considering dangerous unsightly properties. Not saying that children will attend that property, but children are inquisitive. Perhaps on the walk home from school, they decide that they may want to take a look around. So that's something we need to take into consideration as well. And again, another photo just identifying the neighborhood and that there's some really well-maintained properties. And one last photo identifying properties within the neighborhood. That 491 is that outlier that is dangerous and unsightly. File history. A complaint was received on August 7th of 2025. During that time, the file was investigated and validated, and the file was open. The investigation was initiated by bylaw enforcement, and as a result, the dwelling and accessory building were determined to be dangerous, unhealthy, and in a dilapidated state. During the time of that site visit, enforcement officers identified that a previous do not occupy order was posted and confirmed that it remained in place. So it was previously posted on complaints that we had received prior to that date, and those prior investigations, as part of our enforcement duties, we recognized the fact that these structures are dangerous, so we did our due diligence and posted what we refer to as a do not occupy, identifying that no one can occupy that structure. And if you can see this, it will identify and it will show you that this do not occupy was placed on the structure on the 2nd day of October 2024. On May 22nd, 2026, bylaw enforcement attended the property as a follow-up investigation, and the investigation revealed that it's the same, it's the status quo. And as of June 2nd, 2026, compliance has not been gained. The dwelling and accessory building remain in a dangerous, unsightly, and dilapidated state. Bylaw enforcement officer, Miss Janice Balser, attended mid-afternoon today to determine that nothing has progressed. Section 344 of the Municipal Government Act of the MGA states that every property in a municipality shall be maintained so as not to be dangerous or unsightly. Not less than 7 days' notice shall be given to the owner prior to a demolition meeting. The owner shall be made aware of the date, time, place of where the meeting will be held. On May 22nd, 2026, a demolition meeting letter was posted on the dwelling located at 491 Aldershot Road. A copy of the letter was mailed to the owner, Mr. Paul Mitchell Taylor. And I will say that a phone call of the last known phone number for Mr. Taylor was, I had tried to reach Mr. Taylor, and to date I had not received a call back. This photo here identifies the 7-day notice, identifying the 7-day notice with the date, time, and place of the meeting for this evening. As per the Municipal Government Act, the administrator makes a recommendation to council, and the owner, if present, may speak at this time and prior to council making its final discussion. Council votes on the administrator's recommendation for demolition. And before you, Mr. Mayor, is a recommended motion that Municipal Council hereby orders that within 30 days of the date of the order, Paul Mitchell Taylor, the owner of PIDs 55492326, 55058283, and 55493334, demolish the dwelling and accessory building located at 491 Aldershot Road in the municipality of Kings, province of Nova Scotia. Remove all debris from the property and dispose it according to law, and fill in any foundation to be level with the surrounding grade of the land, and that failure to comply with this order shall result in prosecution and fines and/or the municipality entering upon the property to effect demolition, cleanup, and all other required work as outlined above, with all cost of demolition and required work being placed as a first lien against the property. And I'd be happy to take any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Brown. Any questions to Mr. Brown? Councillor Gates.
Thank you, through you, Mr. Mayor. Question I would have, Terry, actually a couple of questions. In particular, if the owner were in negotiations to sell this property, if an order is given for demolish, would that property owner have a chance to sell the property and have the new purchaser demolish the building rather than us do it? I'm just curious as to the time frame that would elapse if we give an order. Would the new owner then be able to demolish the building to our specifications?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, to Councillor Gates, yes, that's something that we would certainly take into consideration. So if approved this evening for the demolition order, it would be placed in the current owner's name. However, if negotiations are ongoing and a sale of the property, that is something that we would certainly entertain, have a discussion with the potential new owner, and work with them for demolition of the property or of the structures.
I've got a question for you, Mr. Brown, something that you didn't mention, rodents. In your opinion, would you say that property in this kind of condition would attract rats and raccoons and that type of thing? Certainly, the reason why I asked, because if that's the case, that would be something that would be a major concern, I would think, for the property owners living nearby.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, for your question. I mean, without any evidence supporting that, I can't confirm that, but however, I would certainly think that there is a number of wildlife and rodents that are residing within that structure or the structures, which would ultimately be a concern of the neighboring properties, the neighborhood, that would have to be at least mitigated.
Deputy Mayor, do you have a question?
I do. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you. So, Mr. Brown, my calculation is that from the initial complaint of an unsightly property, it took about 9 months to arrive at this stage. I suspect that there are a number of unsightly properties throughout the municipality. Is that a typical time frame and a typical process? For example, if there were a complaint that came in today, then typically it would take about 9 months to arrive at this stage.
Thank you. Through you, Mr. Mayor, to Deputy Mayor McPherson. Not necessarily. Some of the dangerous unsightly files do take an extended period of time, but it certainly depends on the nature of it. We want to work with the property owner first and foremost. We gain compliance sooner rather than later, but it all depends on the severity of the structures. Some may take more time, some can certainly take less time. If this was considered immediate, we would have had the structure looked after within, initiating the complaint. Yeah. Hopefully that answers your question.
Okay, Mr. Brown, so you have a recommendation there.
I do, Mr. Mayor. However, I think at this point, if the property owner is here, they would be given that opportunity to.
No, Mr. Brown, I'm chairing the meeting,
Okay.
and all.
Yeah.
I would prefer to do it my way.
Sure.
And so I'd like to see your recommendation, please.
And the recommendation is before you?
Okay, that municipal council hereby orders that within 30 days of the date of order, Paul Mitchell Taylor, the owner of PID 55492326 and 5505823 and 55492334, A, demolition of the dwelling and accessory building located at 491 Aldershot Road in the municipality of the County of Kings, Province of Nova Scotia. B, to remove all debris from the property and dispose of it accordingly to law. And C, fill in any foundation to be level with the surrounding grade of land, and that failure to comply with the order shall result in the prosecution and fines and/or the municipality entering upon the property to effect demolition, cleanup, and all other required work as outlined above, with all costs and demolition and required work being placed as a first lien against the property. Do I have a mover and a seconder, please? Moved by Councillor Allen, second by Councillor Harding. So it's been moved and seconded. At this time, if Mr. Paul Mitchell Taylor is in the audience and would like to speak, now would be your opportunity.
Thank you very much. I was told that I would have 5 minutes to speak on this.
Sure.
Could I ask for maybe a little leniency on that, as long as I don't go crazy?
Well, I'll tell you, Mr. Taylor, if I give you a little leniency, the next person's going to want a little leniency.
Okay.
And then I've opened the door for
Then I will be,
everyone, and so
I will
I'm
be
gonna-
as
I'm
brief
gonna
as
a-
possible.
I'm going to ask you to try and stick to your 5 minutes.
Okay, I will try to be as brief as possible and
Thank you,
stick to the
sir.
point. Okay. I don't have as wonderfully fine a presentation, and as an introduction, I am again Paul Mitchell Taylor, not Paul Richard Taylor. Okay? Second off, I'm pretty sure I'm okay, but I brought some documentation to say that I'm still waiting for glasses, so I'm working at a disability there. I also would like you to know that I'm waiting for follow-up blood work for a kidney disease that I'm dealing with. I have artificial hips, 2 of them, which are well past their best before date, and I'm doing okay, but thank you very much. I just wanted to let you know that there are reasons why some things haven't been able to be accomplished. I also wanted you to know that just in case he mentioned something about trying to phone me, because I have on tape him saying, that's why I didn't phone you, and I could play that tape at some later time if given the opportunity, but to speed things along. Here is when I purchased this new phone, right around the time, just within, I don't know, 2 or 3 weeks. I've lost track of time trying to do what I can to be prepared for this. This is my old phone, and if I received a phone call from him, it didn't happen when both phones were functioning in such a way. They did have trouble getting the old data on the new phone. So I'm not saying that he didn't call. I'm just saying that I don't have receipt of him calling me. So quickly moving along, I received in the mailbox where I stay in a room in the trailer court when I'm in the area, a letter on May the 27th. So yes, I've been notified within 7 days that there's a meeting here and that I have 5 minutes to speak. I think that's a little bit short notice, but that's just my opinion. Also, in the letter, which he's shown you an adaptation of because he's corrected what I'm assuming were typos, I just wanted you to know that I had that. I did have opportunity to speak to John Lohr, who assured me that he, as patient he was to hear some of the things that have gone on in the last 2 decades. I do keep notes. So over the last 2 decades, for my experience with that property, I have lots of material, if necessary, that something were to go to have to be taken to law. But I don't think that that's necessary. I was recommended that I bring a subpoena, but I don't think that's necessary either. So to move things along very quickly, you are the elected council in session now. Over the last 10 decades, there's been lots of people that held your position and positions of power, which during the time of Mr. Brown's employee, from when he very started following after Gary Smith, to take on that position of a compliance officer, that a lot of things have taken place. I remember the first day that I met Terry. I don't know if he remembers the first day that he met me. It was a complaint about a house that I had disassembled at the end of Stead Street because I had brought it all there to resurrect a house, and he let me know that that was fine effort, but I couldn't use any used materials in the construction of a house. The house was removed because the person who was retired wanted to build a new house. He had the means for his wife, who minded the drafts from the old house, and it was a perfectly good house. It just, they wanted the spot where the old house was. That being said, I don't know how I can show these. These are pictures of the property. What my properties are landlocked properties. I'm going to hold this up both ways for anybody that's back there. I have 3 landlocked properties in behind this property, which just sold last week with a sold sign, which generated a whole lot of attention. I've had 6 calls from people that are wanting to know if I'm interested in selling the land. One of them, I understand, has already contacted Terry about the possibility, if he purchased the land, if he could do the cleanup and have the land ready, probably within the 30 days that of your tabled vote. But that being said also, in the original letter that I received, this is the one you saw in the picture on the wall. When I got the letter in the mail, my son and I, over Apple Blossom weekend, I've not been able to enjoy my sister that I haven't seen for 11 years, and my son from BC, or my son from New Brunswick, that all came during Apple Blossom weekend because I had to be preparing something. So again, I'm trying to be within the 5 minutes. You can ring the bell and stop me when it happens. So this is the paper copy, a photocopy of that same letter. So I'm just going to briefly point out a court clerk who pointed out some errors in the letter, just because it makes it very vague what you've just voted on. Okay, the Municipality Government Act requires that every property in the municipality shall be maintained, etc. Okay, then it says we write to you as the owner of property located at 491 Aldershot, Kings County, and therefore you are obliged to insure the property, not saying which property, of the PID numbers, complies with the Act. All paperwork to this time, all paperwork that I have that Mr. Brown has supplied only has one PID number, and that's the PID number for the larger house. He, upon discovering that there is more than one property, has added all the other properties and what the damage was over winter. The holes you see underneath the house is where neighbors went and wrapped the king post underneath the building with a sleeping bag or some kind of material and a chain to pull the king post out so that the weight of snow would collapse the house, because they've wanted the house torn down from the day that I bought it. Quickly.
Okay, I'm going to ask you to wrap things up.
I'm trying as quickly as I can. You were asked to comply, again, not saying which property located at 818 Coleridge Ridge Drive is when the time of this meeting was, and that I have within 30 days to reply. I won't even go to the second page, because what's more important is when I went to pay my taxes, I have for one property $9.26, which was paid, the other one $3.10, which was paid, and then I have the municipality of the County of Kings. So I would ask you, Mayor, because this is showing a total owing of $21,056.79. Is it inappropriate for me to ask for Mr. Brown to provide a breakdown of where that amount to me has come from all the action and history that we have, that I have well documented? Because nothing that I have has anything regarding that property except the one PIN number. I also understand, from having been able to have a little conversation with Mr. Gates, that the term property and parcel are a little particular in the real estate, because a parcel of land isn't necessarily a property. A property is supposed to be something that's attached to a municipal road. I'm wrapping up as quick as I can. I would just like to know where that figure came from. I would like to know if it might be able to be amended, because I'm sure some of it is the cost that it was applied to me for the property to be surveyed, checked, and all of that before, hang on, before the posted auction sale. And
Thank you.
I've been charged for people that apparently were unable to determine there were 3 properties over this time until suddenly it really has been discovered.
I'm sure that if you contact Mr. Brown, he can provide you a breakdown of those bills.
Well,
Okay?
the only
I want to thank you. Your 5 minutes are up, sir. Thank you very much. And now we're going to vote on the recommendation. Thank you.
There's a lot more here,
Thank you, sir.
and it would only take a few moments. But
Thank you, sir.
I have the deeds. They
Thank
were
you.
done by lawyers.
Thank you, sir.
I've had trouble since I've had them.
Thank you, sir.
All right, then.
Is there any further discussion from members of council? Okay. Thank you. Any questions to Mr. Brown on the presentation? If not, we'll move on with the decision. Okay, so you have the motion in front of you. It's been duly seconded or moved and seconded. So all those in favor or against the recommendation, please vote accordingly. Motion carried. Thank you, Mr. Brown. We'll now move on to administration. Proclamation request for Cole Wittenberg Day. So our municipal clerk will be presenting.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We received a request from a Rewind 89.3. That was the 8th time that we received a request for this proclamation. And I'd like to note that this year marks a special milestone, as it will be the 10th radiothon in memory of Cole Wittenberg. And the recommendation is that Municipal Council proclaim June the 5th, 2026 to be Cole Wittenberg Day in the municipality of the County of Kings.
Okay. Any questions to the clerk on that recommendation? No. Do we have a mover and a seconder? Moved by Deputy Mayor McPherson, second by Councillor Peckford. No further discussion. All those in favor or against, please vote accordingly. Motion carried. Now 9B, request for Canadian Armed Forces flyby on East Dalhousie Day. Municipal Clerk Postma presenting.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We received a request from the East Dalhousie Community Club to support a flyby by Canadian Armed Forces aircraft on East Dalhousie Day on August 29th. The Special Events Division of the Canadian Air Division headquarters in Winnipeg requires a letter from the Mayor in support of that request. In the absence of a municipal policy on approving flyby requests, we're bringing this request to Council to authorize the Mayor to send the required letter. And the recommendation is that Municipal Council authorize the Mayor to send a letter to Canadian Air Division headquarters to express support of a flyby by Canadian Armed Forces aircraft as low as 500 feet at the East Dalhousie Day event on August 29th, 2026.
Okay, we have a mover and a seconder. Moved by Councillor Best, second by Councillor Sappington. Any further discussion? All those in favor or against, please vote accordingly. Motion carried. Now we're on to 9C, library discussion. And this, our Deputy CAO, Andrea Hisclop, will be presenting. There'll be an opportunity for discussion, but no decision from council. And so, Deputy CAO.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and good evening, Council. So as the Mayor indicated, I'm just going to do a quick presentation on libraries, just given the recent announcements from the Annapolis Valley Regional Library Board. So the intention for tonight is for Municipal Council to be able to discuss the Annapolis Valley Regional Library closures that were announced on June 1st, 2026. So just a bit of a background and a timeline for Municipal Council as they begin this discussion. On January 5th, 2026, the Annapolis Valley Regional Library requested a 50% increase in funding from each municipal partner. And of that, the Kings County share was $165,800. In February 2026, the province did not approve the additional 10% funding that was requested by libraries that was provided to them from 2023 to 2025. On April 1st, 2026, Municipal Council approved $82,900 of an increase to support Annapolis Valley Regional Libraries within the county. And so that additional $82,900 is 50% of the 50% increase that they had requested on January 5th. And so on April 1st, there was a motion that was approved by council, which was that Municipal Council approve an increase to the contribution of regional libraries in the amount of $82,900 to be funded through a reduction in contribution to the general operating reserve, and that the increased contribution be used to only support libraries situated within the municipality of the County of Kings, and that also includes the libraries within the towns and villages. So yesterday, there was an announcement from the Annapolis Valley Regional Library, and they announced that the following libraries will be closed effective July 20th. That's Hansport, Kentville, Lawrencetown, Middleton, and Port Williams. And all of those locations, all AVRL locations will be closed from June 1st to the 14th to allow for transition for the closure of these 5 branches. So there are some branches that will continue to remain open, and that is Windsor, Wolfville, Berwick, Kingston, Bridgetown, and Annapolis Royal. So just some discussion points that we wanted to bring to your attention. There have been a lot of moving parts based on recent announcements, and I'm sure that members from council have heard from members in the community, which is allowing council to have this discussion tonight. The Annapolis Valley Regional Library has already announced that there will be library closures, so that happened yesterday. We saw that they are going to be closing 5 branches effective July 20th. And just want to bring to the table that the municipality does have relationships with both the province and AVRL. And so with that quick briefing, I just wanted to be able to turn it back over to you, Mr. Mayor, so that you could lead a discussion. I'm happy to answer any questions if there are any.
Thank you. Does any member of council have questions for the Deputy CAO? Councillor Peckford.
Thank you. Through you. With the closure of these 5 branches, how do you foresee this affecting the funding models in place currently for the libraries, like the towns of Middleton and Kentville? Do you see them pulling out of shared funding right now for the rest of the regional library?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, to Councillor Peckford. So there is the mandatory contributions that's legislated by the provincial government, so that 70-30 split, so the province contributes 70%, the municipality is required to contribute the 30%. This year, all municipalities across the Annapolis Valley region did commit to providing additional funding, but whether and how that additional funding will be leveraged by other municipalities will ultimately be a decision for them.
Just follow up on that. So with the policy, how does that work if there is no representation of a library in a municipality? Are municipalities still paying into this program even if they don't have a library?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, to Councillor Peckford, I'd have to check the exact verbiage that's included in the regulation, but I can do that and get back to you. It's my understanding that every municipality contributes to the funding formula, but again, I'll double check on that and get back to you.
Yeah, I worry that we might see a decrease in existing funding now, where some municipalities might try to pull out if they can because they're not being represented. So I see this spilling over to having even more disastrous effects than it currently does.
Okay. Did you get your question in? Yeah. Okay, thank you. How much, Deputy CAO, approximately in total does the municipality contribute to libraries?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So for the 26-27 fiscal year, it's estimated that the municipality will be contributing just under $500,000. And so that relates to the mandatory contribution, plus the additional contribution that was approved on April 1st, as well as the ongoing capital and operating costs that the municipality supports for libraries across the municipality.
Councillor Best.
Thank you, through you, Mayor. Just a question. We increased our constitution to the library X number of dollars, and that included the Kentville one and the Port Williams. Do you expect we'll get some money back from that because two of them are gone?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, to Councillor Best. So when the motion was passed on April 1st, it was to support libraries within the municipality, like within the county, so including the towns and villages. So that funding and that decision to close libraries was made after that. So the funding that's already been committed, that $82,900 would be attributed to, could only be attributed to libraries within the county that would remain open.
Just a follow-up question. I understand that, but now we closed two. We voted for all of them in the County of Kings, including the towns. Now there's two removed. So hopefully we'll get some money back.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, to Councillor Best, ultimately that would be a decision of council. But the funding's already been committed. For libraries within the county, yeah.
I think the answer is we're still going to contribute the same amount of money, Councillor Best, but it will just go to less libraries. We won't be paying any less money, but if there's two less libraries, the other libraries will get a bigger piece of that. Hopefully down the road there'll be some alternatives, and I know that some of the suggestions have been made that maybe the libraries can start to maybe look at some sort of a private public partnership or fundraiser, maybe some of the type of fundraisings that you've done in the past or something. That obviously, you know, you got things like the fire department do their 50-50 drawing. So, you know, we'll see where it goes, but the bottom line is that even though those two close, we're still committed to our $82,000 or $3,000. Correct, Deputy? Thank you. All right, Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you, I think it's important to state that I'm probably stating a belief that many around the table that it's a sad day when in the Annapolis Valley in Nova Scotia that we're shutting down 5 libraries. The identities of libraries have certainly evolved over the years from places of promoting literacy to actually social entities where people depend on many, many different things besides borrowing books at libraries. So it's a sad state to see that happening. I do want to say that I'm very proud of the municipality of Kings County and the level of support that they have provided. $500,000 is quite a bit of money, and that shows the importance of libraries to the municipality, including a significant increase in this past budget. I need to say that I'm a little bit surprised, or was quite surprised yesterday with the announcement back during deliberations that weren't that long ago around budget, I was fully aware of the fact that libraries were facing some financial challenges. But I had the sense, or was under the impression, that they would have a year, they had enough money and would have a year to try and find some creative ways and some solutions to the financial difficulties that they were facing. So I must say that I was both saddened and surprised by what seemed to me kind of a bit of an abrupt announcement. Not in the sense that I knew clearly there were financial challenges for libraries, but I thought I knew clearly as well that we were a year away from these type of drastic decisions that perhaps would need to be made.
Councillor Lutz.
Thanks, Mayor. I might save my comments for another day. I'm a member of the library board.
Okay,
So I'm going to save it.
thank you. Councillor Allen.
Thank you, Mayor. I was just curious how the decision was made to close the 5 that are being closed. What was the decision that decided which 5? Lowest usage?
I have no idea. I don't know that I don't think we have an answer for that.
Oh. Okay, thank you.
We certainly weren't in the loop of picking them or anything like that, or.
Thank you.
Okay, Councillor Gates.
Thank you, through you, Mr. Mayor. I'm just wondering if there's any possible chance to have correspondence with the board and ask, rather than a complete closure, if there's a way to have open 1 day a week or 2 days a week, if they'd be open to, if they're going to phase them out rather than an immediate closure, is there potential for a librarian from one library to go to another library and fill in for 1 or 2 days a week? In other words, if they're going to be phased out, do it in a manner that's not quite as abrupt. And I'm just for thoughts, for discussions.
We could certainly send that letter, but unfortunately, Councillor, there's still going to be rent to pay or whatever to, you know, and I'm sure the landlord in the case, I mean, whether the library's open 7 days a week or 1 day a week, is still going to want their rent, and the insurance will still be need to be paid. So, but anyway, we could certainly ask that, and we have a counselor on the board, so she can maybe take that. I'm without a doubt that they're probably looking at every angle that they can. And okay, I don't see any other lights on, so thank you, Deputy, and I know it's a tough conversation, but we'll move on then to 10A, amendments to policy FIN-05-026, tax exemption for nonprofit organizations, and we're, I guess, are you doing that too, Mr. McKay? It's just, okay. So we're just a motion to amend the policy to give 7 days notice. So 10A, that the municipal council amend FIN-05-026 tax exemption for non-profit organizations as attached to the June 2nd, 2026. Do I have a mover and a seconder, please? Moved by Councillor Gates, second by Councillor Best. All those in favor or against, please vote accordingly. Motion carried. Now we'll move on to 10B, amendments to bylaw 93, private road maintenance and improvement charge. And Mr. Scott McKay, our manager of revenue, will be presenting. Mr. McKay.
And the recommendation that you will be seeing this evening is that Municipal Council give first reading to amend the private road maintenance and improvement charge bylaw, bylaw 93, as outlined in the June 2nd, 2026 request for decision. So to give you a little bit of background, bylaw 93 is brought before Municipal Council annually, as it is a requirement that Council approves the levying, collection, and remittance of road maintenance area rates to all private road associations covered by the bylaw and listed in Appendix A of the bylaw. These approved rates will be levied on the final tax bills released in September. With such a bylaw in place, we take the burden of collecting these fees away from the respective association executives and provide them each with the certainty that the necessary funds will be there for the budgeted upkeep of the private roads in their area. In turn, property owners benefit from the upkeep of these roads and in turn pay their fair share of the maintenance. The municipality's role does not include the provision of any engineering or planning services, by the way. And for 2026-27, staff have received applications from 18 associations, which is one more than was received in 2025. And as always, the municipality charges a 4% administration fee for the services. The municipality will also execute annual agreements with each association laying out the terms of the collection process and responsibilities as we do each year. Within these agreements, a requirement is included that an association must notify every property owner abutting the related private road of the association's annual general meeting or any other meeting where the association intends to seek approvals from its membership to recommend a charge for collection by the municipality. So if approved, all reading, notice, and publication requirements will be followed related to the amendment. The bylaw will also be updated in our municipal website, and these rates, as well as all tax rates, will also be posted there. The bylaw will also be, as in past years, staff will include the rates in the September tax bill and remit these fees to the member associations accordingly. Payments are made to the association in two parts, by the way. One draw of approximately 50% of the funds is made in June and July after the council has approved the amendments, and a second draw is issued after the September tax bill is released. And the final impact of the bylaw is that approximately $320,000 will be collected for private road maintenance across the county this year, and this covers approximately 50 kilometers of private roads and more than 1,029 properties. So once again, the recommendation for this request for decision is that Municipal Council give first reading to amend the private road maintenance and improvement charge bylaw, bylaw 93, as outlined in the June 2nd, 2026 request for decision.
Thank you, Mr. McKay. Is there any questions to Mr. McKay on the recommendation? Councillor Peckford.
Thank you. Through you. I was just looking for information on why the Armstrong Lake lots received such a significant increase compared to last year.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, we don't pick apart or put any limitations on terms of what their rates are set at. They establish their budget based upon their needs. They may have, enhanced needs based on weather. In the last couple of years, climate change has had a nasty effect on some of these roads. They are not paved roads in most cases. They're, rustically maintained roads. They also had a bridge down there that they had to work on the last couple of years. So it's been costly for some of these associations. We've seen some pretty hefty increases in the last few years for sure, but they're having meetings with their associations and having votes, and all of these have been approved by their respective associations, which does give us a bit of confidence.
Well, thank you. I was quite impressed to see there wasn't that many increases, and I know the costs have gone up significantly across the board for roads as a whole, so I think it's a good bang for your buck when you're getting your roads worked on for that.
Deputy Mayor McPherson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you, I'm kind of curious, is this mandatory? And what I mean by that, if I live on a private road and there are 8 residences on that road, could we not self-organize and pay for the maintenance amongst ourselves, or are we obligated to go through this process through the county?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, absolutely no obligation whatsoever. We're there to help with the collection if some association decides they would like to utilize a municipality's finance department for that service, but I can tell you that there are far more associations going door to door than there are coming to us to have us collect.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Mr. McKay. So the recommendation is that Municipal Council give first reading to amend the private road maintenance and improvement charge bylaw 93, as outlined in June the 2nd, 2026 request for decision. Do I have a mover and a seconder, please? Moved by Councillor Gates, second by Councillor Allen. Any further discussion? Okay, all those in favor or against, please vote accordingly. Okay, motion carried. All right, I think at this time I'm going to call a 10-minute recess and before we get back into the board reports. on our agenda is on boards and committee reports, number 11A, Landscape of Grand Prairie Incorporated. This report was submitted by Councillor Gates. And so, Councillor Gates, do you have anything that you'd like to add to your report? You do not? Okay. Any questions to Councillor Gates on his report? No? Okay. Police advisory. This report was submitted by Councillor Sappington. Councillor Sappington, do you have anything to add to your report? No? Okay, thank you. Any questions to Councillor Sappington? No? Okay. Valley Regional Services Board. And I got a couple of comments I'd like to make on that. If I can find my notes here. Due to the recent provincial funding cutbacks, the Valley Wren is now looking for opportunities, and council should be well aware that they're looking at private partner funding. The Cape Breton Partnership, the Pictou County Partnership, and Halifax have investments from private partners to increase their financial stability. So I guess I just want to let you know, council, that they're trying to come up with ways to come up with the shortfall that they're anticipating from the provincial government. The Valley Wren is also exploring possibility of funding a certified immigration consultant to support local businesses. This could potentially save a business up to $5,000. So I don't know if you realize that when you bring in immigrants, the business usually has to have a consultant, and it can cost them a fair amount of money. So if there was, maybe 20 immigrants, that's $100,000. So certainly a position like that would more than pay for itself. If the Valley Wren can do that, would be a great advantages for businesses in the area. So, is there any questions to me on my Valley Wren report? No. And Valley Regional Services, I guess I should have did that one first, but I'll mention that one too. Recently at the Valley Regional Services, I was pleased to see a couple of different things. That Divert Nova Scotia provided an overview of our diversion credits, and this year our region performed exceptionally well. Received 8.4% of the $7 million in provincial diversion credit funding. I wanted to mention to you that this achievement also reflects that our region has had the highest diversion rate in the province, which demonstrates that our residents, our businesses, continue to do an excellent job in keeping waste out of the landfill. So we should realize that, Council. And lastly, I would also like to mention on the tidal transit that recently the general manager reported that tidal transit has secured an $8 million funding commitment from the federal government. And I wanted to mention that too, because that's a good news story, and we should thank Cody Boyce for his assistance in receiving that. So is there any questions to me on the Valley Regional Services report? No? Okay. The last report that I have is a gender-based violence conference that I attended for a day and a half at St. Mary's University. And I want to mention to you, I certainly learned a lot. Only by attending these events and conferences can you learn to overcome these kind of barriers. The impacts of racism, gender-based violence, and violence are generally all connected, and only through leadership, community engagement, and working together can we hope to create meaningful change. I think that, in my opinion, that some of the recent concerns in Kings County, like increased crime and violence, has was good timing to have a conference like that. And again, I repeat, you can only learn if you go to those and take advantage of those opportunities. Okay, so that was that, and that was that. Any questions on the Gender-Based Violence Leadership Conference that I attended? Okay, committees of council. Is there any committees of council or verbal reports from committees of council? No? All right, external boards and committee. Are there any verbal reports from external boards and committees? No? Okay, can I get a motion, please, to receive all the reports? Moved by Councillor Harding, second by Councillor Allen. All those in favor or against, please vote accordingly. Motion carried. Okay. Now we have correspondence, item number 12, to receive from 2026-05-11 Core Support Services, the Bridge Community Initiative, for information. I guess everyone received a copy of that, so unless you have any questions to the clerk, we'll move on. Okay, other businesses, or any other business before council? Councillor Gates.
Thank you, through you, Mr. Mayor. Just wanted a discussion on vision grants. Is that upcoming meeting or next council?
We could have that at committee of the whole, I would say. Is that that's not too late, is it? Deputy CAO.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So that will be forthcoming. It will be in council's inbox to take a look at it before it comes. So there has to be some time to allow for the review of those applications, but that should be forthcoming very soon.
Thank you, Deputy CAO. Okay, it's time for, if there's any member of the public who are present who wish to come to the podium to provide comments, we ask the speaker to state their name for the record, and they would have a time limit of 2 minutes. We ask that any comments be made be respectful, otherwise that will not be tolerated.
And I'm just going to make this very brief. I'm just speaking on behalf of quite a few people who were here earlier from Grand Pré. Thank you. That's all I have to say.
Okay, thank you for coming. And all right, is there any other member of the public that would like to speak?
Good evening, Sam Field, everybody. I guess a little bit more of an informative talk for me this evening, because I'm learning that we don't answer questions, and I get my 2 minutes. So in regard to one of your board councils that happens here, I've been participating as I can. There was an issue that has seemed to be wiped clean of the slate of minutes and agendas and minutes and such. There was a breach of code of conduct. I just guess I want to let you guys know that something did happen in these chambers during a meeting that has not been properly recorded, documented, apologized for, defamation of character, I suppose a level of perjury to documentation. And I can't sit here as a taxpayer in this community and a caring individual and let it just be dusted under the rug yet again. So I look forward to pursuing this with you guys, and I just wanted to make sure that you all that weren't present for it, that there is no video footage to actually catch the ongoings of the issue. Mayor, I hope you got a new gavel because the other one was destroyed in a fit of tangent. So anyways, I apologize for having to bring it to you in such mannerism, but I think you should all know exactly what happened right here in this facility with 2 RCMP officers sitting present. So look forward to it.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Fields. Is there anyone else that would like to address council?
Is this being recorded? Is this online? Video recorded?
Yes, sir, it's being recorded.
All right, perfectly. Anyway, I find it interesting that you would make sure...
What's your name, sir?
Gordon Berry. Everybody knows me probably, but anyway, I find it interesting that you would make sure that you would say that people should be respectful when they come up here and speak, when it was me that was disrespected, completely disrespected, wasn't even added to the minutes and all that kind of stuff. So that's interesting. But for the people out there watching this, I'd just like to say that nobody here works for you. These people all work for the corporation known as the Kings County Municipality. This is nothing more than the CEO and board members of such corporation. And this is all a big ruse to pretend that they actually do work for you. The municipality of Kings is a body corporate, so these are corporate employees. They don't work for you. They're not accountable to you. And I am still taking measures to make sure I bring things to account for what happened in that meeting. I'm not going to let that go and let that slide, as some people seem to want to. And as Sam said, I find it quite interesting that it was totally disregarded from the minutes. So anybody that would read the minutes to keep up with the ongoings of the meeting wouldn't even know that happened. And actually the majority of most people don't know what happened. There's no video evidence of it, and it's quietly being swept underneath the rug. But I assure you, as you guys are aware, I did meet with you about this. I had conversations with you about this in person. I assure you that I'm not going to let this slip through the cracks, and I'm going to make sure I do the best I can to bring accountability to it. And I'm going to keep coming in here and letting people know the fraud of this whole entire structure. And you can take personal offense to that if you choose, but that's not my intention. My intention is to show people the fraud of this entire system that's basically destroying our society on purpose. So with that being said, I bid you adieu and good evening.
Thank you, Mr. Berry. Is there anyone else that would like to speak to council? Is there anyone else that would like to speak to council? Seeing no one else coming to the podium, we shall now move on. I would like to have a motion for council to adjourn into a closed session, and I would notify the public that we will not be coming back into an open council meeting after the closed session. So just for your benefit, so that if you thought that you were going to miss something, we will not be coming back into an open session. So can I have a move that the council adjourn and move into a closed session in accordance with the Municipal Government Act, Section 22, to a acquisition of land, lease, and security of municipal property. So, moved by Councillor Allen, second by Councillor Gates. All those in favor to move into the closed session or not, please vote accordingly. Motion carried.